Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Cabinet meeting on the 15th of November, and a warm welcome to any members of the public listening online. Moving straight into item number 1, apologies for absence. I believe none received. Sorry, I have actually got a note in front of me. Item number 2, announcements from the chairman and or head of the paid service, none received. Item number 3, do I have any declarations of interest? No. Item number 4, we need to confirm the minutes made at the meeting of the Cabinet held on the 18th of October, though those are from pages 5 to 14. Do I have a proposer? Thank you very much, Councillor Oxley. Do I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Harvey, and all those in favour. Well, and sorry, are there any comments that we for the minutes?
It doesn't actually say the meeting held on, so it needs to be clarified. I think actually what date of meeting we are.
That's just on the so that's just on the agenda bit. Just stay in the minutes.
Yep, so the minutes held at Council Chamber on Tuesday, the 18th of October 2022 at 10 AM. Yep, so the agenda sometimes is a little briefer, but that should be covered. Excellent. Thank you for clarifying, Councillor Oxley. Item number 5, items raised by scrutiny, none received. I am aware, obviously, that there is a overdue scrutiny meeting on Thursday, and members of the public are warmly invited to that meeting. Item number 6, future commissioning on early years pathway, and I will hand over to Councillor Wilby.
Thank you very much, Chair. You will know from the papers that we have been working for some time along with the Schools Forum to try and make sure that all our children, and particularly those with special educational needs and disabilities, get the best possible chance to join mainstream education in Rutland along with their peers, and so they are able to develop and move forward. This is a very challenging area. Sometimes it can be very expensive, and that's why I think we've been very fortunate that we've been working with the Schools Forum, who of course is responsible for making sure that the money that we get for education is spread equally right across the whole educational forum, because all our children need a certain amount of attention to develop in their own ways. We've also been extremely lucky to have some absolute experts in the strategic thinking of how we approach this particular problem, and they have been working, I think tirelessly is not a too strong a word to use, to affect the sort of ideas that will help us. We've had a couple of pilot programs, both at the primary school and now more recently in the secondary school area, where we have been taking that little extra time with some of our pupils who need a little more patience and a little more time to get them into a sort of place where they can then enter the mainstream and join their peers. And that's been working really well. And I think the work that has been done in the county has been brought out and exemplified by the reports that have just come out of government on how we deal with SEND throughout. So we're moving in the right direction. It is challenging, and there will be some difficult times ahead as we go to consultation. It's always difficult to try and produce the best for the children, particularly when parents are very keen to make sure that their child has the very best possible service to get them in there. It's a balance, and this morning's report, which have been, I think, well put together, look for the following decision recommendations. 1, that Cabinet agrees that Rutland County Council should continue to work with Rutland Schools Forum and Rutland Early Years Childcare and Learning Providers to develop services that best support children in an early years environment with emerging special educational needs. Secondly, endorse an engagement programme with the early years sector and parents to begin to consider what the future early years SEN provision in Rutland may be and what steps would need to be taken to best meet children's needs to ensure that they thrive in their communities. And finally, notes that the following engagement and planning, there will be a need to consider future early years SEN provision in Rutland and any requirement to consult if changes were to be proposed.
Thank you very much. Questions and comments, Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that I really welcome this review, especially because it's a holistic review of the whole of Rutland, and will take into account some of our larger settlements outside of Oakham and Uppingham as well. Thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you very much, Chair. I know members of the public and parents have shown some concern around this paper, so I hope that what's written in the paper offers some reassurance to them. There's just a couple of things I'd like to draw attention to. Mainly around the early years and early intervention. I'd like to draw Cabinet's notice to the fact the Children's Commissioner yesterday published a long-awaited report called Beyond the Labels, which gives her recommendations for SEN provision moving forward and early intervention. I was pleased to see that our report shares some of her ambitions, that of children getting timely and effective support locally with a focus on local early intervention. And in her paper, she talks about early years SENCOs across the board being able to give early intervention at an early in all settings, so not just in specialist settings, so that more children have early intervention, because we know that is proved without doubt that early intervention is the best for young people, children and young people to fulfill their the best they can. The other thing that I'd liked in the report, in the Children's Commissioner's report, and I know it's something that does affect our young people in Rutland, she does discuss the delays in health. We know that there's a delays in health around diagnosis, and she discusses that support shouldn't wait for a diagnosis, and support should be put in as early as can be with the early intervention, which again talks to the skilling up our early services. So I do welcome the report, and I hope that we can also share some of the learning in Beyond the Labels, which has some great things and great advocacy and voice work from actual young people. Sorry, I've rambled on a bit, but thank you.
Councillor Oxley, no, Councillor Harvey, it wasn't rambling at all, because the points you make are really, really important, so thank you. Councillor Oxley.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, again, I endorse this report. I think it's very important that this piece of work has been undertaken. I particularly am happy to read in 2.6, the intention is to increase opportunities for children with SEND needs or emerging needs to access early years education closer to home and in their own communities, thereby reducing the need for lengthy journeys, and where they can benefit from the support of family and are able to form friendships with other local children. And I think that's very important, that they feel that they are part of the community. So I happily endorse this report.
Thank you, Councillor Oxley. Any other comments? No, I'll just make one comment myself before we move on to the recommendation. One of the key ambitions within our future Rutland vision is that we are a county for everyone, and that is from cradle to grave. And it's this type of paper that shows that we are living the achievement of those ambitions. Councillor Harvey, I won't repeat what you said it excellently. This is about enabling, empowering, engaging to make sure that every single child in this county gets the best start in life so they can flourish and achieve their full potential, regardless of any challenges that might present themselves. And I'm very confident and excited to endorse this paper. Thank you, Councillor Wilby. Councillor Wilby has read out the 3 recommendations. I'm assuming I don't need to reread them. Excellent. I will take them on block. Councillor Wilby, you are proposing. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Harvey. All those in favour? Super, that was unanimous. Moving on to item 7, which is the mid-year report on Treasury Management and Prudential Indicators 22-23, and I hand over to Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Chair. The mid-year Treasury report you have in front of you outlines the constantly shifting economic environment we have endured over this last 6 months. I'd like to point out that some councils haven't fared well over this time. In fact, members may remember that Thurrock Council have been subject to government intervention due to financial mismanagement. RCC had invested £7 million with Thurrock Council. Initially, there was some concern from the member group that we may not get this money back, but I'm pleased to relate that we have had £2 million returned and a letter of confirmation that all debt will be repaid as they have received Public Works Loan Board support. There is no risk to RCC's funds in this regard. I am similarly very pleased to report the council has outperformed its investment budget by £730,000 as the bank base rate has increased and our cash invested has presented a higher rate of return than originally anticipated. We have not undertaken any external borrowing in the last 6 months or repaid any loans as there has not been a business case to do so. The Sterling Overnight Index average has a 6-month rate of 4.23%. The council has achieved an average rate of 2.11% year to date. This is due to a lag in maturing investments, and the gap will be closed as we take advantage of reinvesting at a higher rate. Cabinet needs to note that due to weaker growth prospects and high inflation in the UK, together with unpredictability in policy making, Moody's credit rating agency has changed the outlook on the government's credit rating from stable to negative. If in the future this has significant impact on banks' credit ratings, then a report would need to be brought to the Cabinet outlining the available options. We do, of course, have the autumn statement due from the Chancellor on Thursday this week. We await the outcome of this and the impact it will have on the economy, the council and our residents, and we will duly digest that and measure the impact on the council shortly after that. Chair, I ask the Cabinet to note the contents of the report, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Are there any comments, questions from Cabinet? Yes, Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say thank you to the portfolio holder for presenting this, and I think it's a very detailed and complex area, but the messages that I take out of that is that Rutland's position in terms of being prudent and with the no borrowing for of capital puts us in. We've got a lot of challenges ahead in lots of ways, but this reassurance puts us in a good position to take those difficult decisions going forward. So thank you for all the work involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Powell. I think you've summed that up incredibly well. And I just adding on to that, I particularly liked Appendix B with the economics update. It absolutely underscores the climate that we work in, not just fiscal tightness, shall we call it, but the fact that the goalposts are forever moving and changing, and to have this sort of reassurance of that understanding with very prudent management is very, very reassuring indeed. So thank you very much, Councillor Payne. As noted by Councillor Payne, this is for noting, so there is no need to take a vote on that. I will move swiftly, therefore, on to item 8, which is the green waste charges for 23-24, and I hand over to Councillor Oxley.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I should begin by saying that this is being brought forward today because the green waste charge runs from the 1st of April to the 31st of March. And so you have to apply by the 25th of February. So it would be too early to go into the annual fees and charges which we have as part of the budget. Now, this is, sorry, excuse me. So I'm have some water. Thank you. So this this report asks for the Cabinet approves the proposed annual charge of £50 per bin for the 23-24 financial year. So it's gone up from £45 last year, with £48 with if you were paying by cheque or by cash. And we've made the decision this year to have a flat fee of £50 across the whole charging ratio. So which means that because there are only 300 people out of the 13,000 who get the discount. And I should stress this is not a tax, it's simply an administration fee which covers the cost of the admin to have the green bins. And the discount of 25% for the local tax subsidy still applies. Before we came to this point, it's separate to the fees and charges paper which goes into the 23-24. This is simply a one-off admin cost.
But it does feed into the fees and charges paper. That's why we're agreeing it now. Is that right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like me to respond? Yes. So this is the proposed charge for green waste for 23-24. It's coming now because of when we need to issue requests and for new subscriptions, but it will reflect in the 23-24 fees and charges schedule.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. Sorry, that was a slip of the tongue on my part. I do apologise.
Any other costs? Yes, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you. I welcome this paper. I'm glad that we've gone back to a flat charge of 50 of the £50. As people can see by 4.4, it does cover the cost of the bins, which is good for our financial position, certainly. Looking at the alternative options, I agree that we should up the charge slightly rather than freezing it as it states in 6.1. I'm glad that we I myself couldn't support 6.2 of those 300 people paying slightly more as the costs are included in the £50. So I welcome the £50 flat fee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harvey. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Chair. Not so much a question really as a comment. We need to cover the council's costs of delivering the green bin service, which I believe has been shown by this paper that therefore the fees need to increase. That they obviously have gone up by sort of £5 jumps for the last few years, but looking at it, I would say that represents for residents, if they want to opt for the green waste service, good value for money in terms of the number of collections that you get to dispose of the green waste. Hopefully people will be, and I know residents in Rutland are working at composting green waste and doing all they can to reduce it, but to have a service that actually can come and collect your bin during the summer period with your green waste in to take it to the household household amenity site is a really, I think is a really good service for the residents at a reasonable price, and bearing in mind that we do give discounts to people who are on support. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Oxley, would you like to come back?
Yeah, yes, I take on board all those points. It is an optional service, and there are alternative options, so people can actually take their green waste. They can still take it to the CA sites if needed. This is simply curbside collection of green waste. And from my own personal point of view, I know my wife actually puts wood into the green bin because that doesn't compost easily, whereas she composts everything else, so her tree cuttings and the like. So, but yeah, and I'm happy to recommend all the proposals to Cabinet.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oxley. And just before I go to the vote, I think, there are a couple of things that I would just like to pull out there. Appendix A absolutely helps us to know that we are offering a service that is reasonably priced and offers good value, a very useful comparison with other authorities. And also I am proud that despite the fiscal restraints that we face, we have chosen to protect the support for those who are most in need, which I think is to be commended. And thank you, Councillor Harvey, for identifying the differential charging rates. I do think this needs to be revisited, but it needs to be revisited holistically. And of course, just to absolutely underscore, this is about recovery of costs. It is not a revenue generator. And finally, references to composting and that sort of thing. This is part, obviously, of how we as individuals approach our waste management. If we can reduce our waste, and obviously there will be lots of wonderful communications about that with top tips and ideas and support, we will be having a positive impact on our footprint and impact on the environment, as well as obviously there will be some fiscal reward, but the main one is that we are reducing our waste. So thank you very much, Councillor Oxley. I will move straight to the vote there. We are asked to approve the proposed annual charge of £50 per bin for the 23-24 financial year. Point 2 authorises the Director for Resources in consultation with the Cabinet Member with Portfolio for Environment and Climate Change to revise as necessary the terms and conditions associated with the implemented chargeable service for the curbside collection of green waste. I'm assuming also the Director for Places is involved with that as well. Yes, very good. Proposed by Councillor Oxley. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Powell. All those in favour? And that is unanimous. Thank you very much. We now move on to item 9, highways contract procurement, and I hand over to Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Chair. This paper is asking Cabinet to approve the next stage of the highways term maintenance contract. This will be effective from June 2024. The current contract, we're on a 5-year contract that ran until 2018, which was then extended by annual extensions until 2023. And then also there's been a further extension to take it through the winter period, so actually that we can be re-procuring in the summer period rather than right up against it in terms of the winter maintenance. The highways contract is there is a project board on which I sit, and you'll have seen that there's an awful lot of work being done already in the pre-procurement stage. The highways contract covers, and I won't read the list of what it covers, but there's a huge amount of keeping our highways fit for purpose and safe, structures, and also including signage, winter service, etc., etc., etc. It's very comprehensive. A lot of detailed work has gone on already, and this is now recommending the other thing I should say, that in terms of the expected costs, the budget we will totally use any capital grants that we get for highways, with the rest coming from revenue. So we're looking at proposing to go for a 10-year contract. So I'm asking Cabinet to approve the next stage, which is going to the procurement of the maintenance contract, with the detailed timeline that you all have seen in the papers.
Thank you very much, Councillor Powell. Questions or comments? Councillor Harvey.
Thank you very much. I've just got a question just regarding cycleways, footways, cycleways, cycle paths. They're in the paper at 2.5, and they're also they are mentioned in the procurement document. It doesn't, and I'm mixing these up with cleaning of said cycleways. I know certainly twice a year when the hedges are cut, there's an ongoing issue around the cycleways not being usable in a lot of our out of town areas because of the hawthorn issues on. They do not appear to ever be cleaned after. And I was wondering, within the new contract, will there be, and I know there's a financial implication, but in order to best value and to increase the ability of our residents to use the cycle paths, are we factoring in the cleaning of the cycle paths after?
Are you? I was going to say, can I hand over to
yeah, I
the
think
director of the places in terms of that?
It doesn't. It actually depends on the contract. So the street cleansing sits in our waste contracts. So it's that contract and that is responsible for the street cleansing regime, including sweeping of footways and pathways. We have worked hard across the teams to make sure there is alignment between both the street cleansing contract and the highways maintenance contract, because we're aware that has been an issue in the past. So we are looking to make sure that we've got the timeline for the street cleansing contract means that it's not having a knock-on impact to the highways maintenance contract, so that we're not clogging gullies and those sorts of things. So that we're working, but they're managed through two separate contracts at the moment.
And I think you're absolutely right, Councillor Harvey, to flag up that sort of drive for active travel. And I'm assuming, Mrs. Sharp, that if it's a farmer that's cut a hedge, then there's an element of expectation that you sweep up after your own cuttings. Thank you, but that is noted, and I think that's something, Councillor Powell, that could just be sort of followed up working with Councillor Oxley. Any other questions or comments? No, just one comment from me, again referencing Future Rutland. Our ambition is that this county is a special place. It already is a special place. We wish it to be even more special as we move through the next 50 years. Our highways assets are the very noticeable unsung hero. We have amongst the best roads in the East Midlands, and that is because of incredibly careful annual inspections, maintenance programme, delivery of those identified works. So it doesn't surprise me, Councillor Powell, to see the sheer amount of meticulous detail that has gone into the work so far, and I am confident that the work will continue in excellent hands, and obviously noting we are looking at a 35 million contract over 10 years, so it is important to get it right. So in which case I shall move on to the recommendations that Cabinet approves the reprocurement of the highways term maintenance contract. Number 2, delegates authority to the Director of Places in consultation with the portfolio holder for planning, highways and transport to award the contract to the highest scoring bidder following evaluation of tenders. Councillor Powell, obviously you are proposing. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Oxley. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Now, item 10 is exclusion of the press and public. I will cover that off in a minute. This is because in item 11, we have got the corporate asset review and strategy. I'm intending to take the covering report, the strategy, the corporate asset project board paper, the terms of reference and the project initiation document in the public domain, which I will do now. I am watching you with my peripheral vision. I'm watching the monitoring officer for those not being able to see that. When we have discussed those, I will move to item 10 to put us into exempt, which is around the prioritisation list and of course the all-important financial considerations. I will then take us out of exempt to then vote on in public on items 1 to 6. I will be chairing very, very carefully. If I think any member is inadvertently popping into exempt information, I will stop you abruptly. Apologies for any perceived rudeness there. It is imperative that we are protecting the interests of this council, and ultimately it is actually the interests of our residents, being a modern and effective council, and of course getting value for money. So on that note, I will now move into introducing the strategy and the other public papers which I have mentioned. Just finding those on my iPad. Good, excellent. Modern technology is serving me well this morning. Obviously, we are aware that in 1997, we became the fabulous Rutland County Council. With that, we obviously inherited a package of assets as given to us by Leicestershire County Council. We are now in 2022. We are very clear about various things. First of all, our assets are the linchpin to service delivery. What we have must ensure that we can deliver our services in a modern and effective way. There is almost a second prong to this, which is, of course, the cultural offer within our assets and also the commercial opportunities that our assets provide. What is quite clear, though, moving forwards, historically, and for very, very reasonable, rational reasons, there are two things to note. Firstly, services have had to fit to the asset. Actually, that isn't the best way forward for a modern council. What we want to make sure is that we know what we are delivering, and so therefore the assets are made to fit our services. Secondly, we need to move into proactive maintenance. As is noted within the paper, we have had a reactive approach to maintenance, which, as explained, was absolutely the right thing to do at the time. Moving forwards, we need to make sure that we've got proactive maintenance programs in place so that the assets we do have are maintained really effectively to ensure best value for money moving forwards. Those obviously are covered in the asset management strategy. We clearly need a base for decisions going forwards, having clear strategic vision enables us to make sure that we get the right evidence at the right time to inform any decisions going forwards. I'm not going to go through all of the points in the paper because I know that you will have read them thoroughly. The main point with this, though, is that we are being a modern and effective council, and not just looking short term, but looking over the next 50 years. It is a key delivery aim within our corporate strategy, number 22 to be absolutely precise. Within that, we then are clearly going to need a corporate asset programme board. I shall now call it CAP for short. That is essential to have the necessary oversight of this very, very big piece of work, which will of course be phased. We Cabinet have identified our assets as a really important piece of work to be getting on with. We need to make sure that that momentum continues. I am confident with the CAP, the terms of reference and the project initiation document, including key timelines and timeframes, as well as the risk register, will provide that necessary assurance moving forwards. I feel as though I've spoken enough about this, and I'm very happy to take any questions or observations. Over to you, Cabinet. Councillor Oxley.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I welcome the sight of this report. We've waited a long time for it to come through, and it has finally arrived. I should begin by saying that in your preamble, you said that Leicester gave us the assets. They actually gave us back the assets.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oxley, for that correction. Fortunately, not part of the strategy.
So yes, and we have inherited from them buildings which are now, there's a lot of detail has gone into this report, which will enable us to decide the best way, the maximum use of them. And also, as I say, I'm glad you highlighted the cultural offer of our assets, because it's very important that we recognise the fact that our assets are seen by the wider community as very much what Rutland is all about. The museum, the castle, and this building, for example, people see that as the front face of the council. And I totally endorse what you said, that services have to fit assets. That's very important. We have to maximise the potential of every single inch of building that we have, and make good use of it. We don't want to, and with post COVID, we had different ways of working, and again, that's reflected in this report. And the strategic vision in this report, it will help us to make decisions, I'm sure. So I certainly welcome this report, and so I'll wait to hear what everybody else has to say. But I think there is still some work that needs to be done, perhaps with libraries and the like, but this is the critical piece of work to begin with.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oxley. Other comments? Yes, Councillor. Or questions?
It's a comment, really. I'm really pleased to receive this report. It's a really critical input to our overall transformation and making the council leaner and fitter, and able to move forward in an economic way in the future. I won't say any more because I think that's for exempt, but thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Payne. I think that, you know, that is our ambition, that we are modern and effective as a council, and that absolutely means that we are placing residents first in terms of the services that are needed as the absolute focus of work, and then we make sure the estate is able to deliver that. Councillor Wilby.
Thank you, Chair. No, just a comment, really. I think this really is very important, and it's an imperative at the moment in this financial difficulty. I'm also very aware of how busy our staff are, and I'm sure that we will need to make sure that the decisions that we take are based on really good, sound fact and forward thinking. So I'm sure that we will need some support from external experts to help us get to those decisions, and the sooner we get to those decisions, the better, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harvey.
I'll speak with trepidation, just because I don't trust my brain.
I will watch you with very firm eye,
please
with
do,
one eye
please
also
do.
looking at the monitoring officer.
Yes, please do. I'm going to keep this very short because I really don't trust my brain. I welcome us having a strategy on our assets. Equally, I welcome the fact that we're fitting the services as an important part and driving it forward and bringing in our new ways of working and things. I will stop there because I do not trust myself. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Cabinet. I have to say, very well done. You've been very well behaved at sticking to the public papers. I am now going to move to the exclusion of the press and public. So I am moving that the public and press be excluded from the meeting in accordance with section 100 brackets A brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, and in accordance with the access to information provisions of Procedure Rule 239. I would like to propose that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So if I could ask to stop the... Thank you and welcome back to members of the public. I'm now going to move to the recommendation for the corporate asset review and strategy. The recommendations are as follows: that the Cabinet approves the property.
Sorry, Chair.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't put my speaker on. Welcome back, members of the public. I am now going to go to reading out the recommendations for the corporate asset review and strategy. Cabinet is asked to approve the property asset strategy and guiding principles for the future management of the council's assets. Number 2, approves the recommended future approach for primary key assets and prioritise programme for the development of business cases. 3, approves the establishment of a corporate asset programme project board and associated project documents, including the project initiation document, terms of reference and risk log. 4, delegates authority to Strategic Director of Places in consultation with the portfolio holder for property to commission further technical advice as necessary within the project budget. Item number 5, approves budget creating a capital programme of £565,000 as per Appendix D, funded from capital receipts for major works, a revenue budget of £31,000 to fund the repairs required and £120,000 to support the business case development programme. And finally, point 6, notes the need to consider future delivery models for the council's asset and estate management as the corporate asset programme develops. I'm very happy to propose that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Oxley. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Item number 12 is any items of urgent business. None have been received. The date of the next meeting is on the 13th of December 2022, and I now close the meeting at 11:23. Thank you very much, everybody.